Tonight, our special coverage as Israel faces diplomatic isolation on the world stage due to its indiscriminate bombings on Palestinians. Assalamu alaikum and good evening. This is Muslim News Canada on Muslim Network TV. I'm Zahra Sayed. Today is the 68th day since Israel started its war on Palestine. Overnight, Israeli air raids on Rafah in the south of the enclave have led to the destruction of two residential buildings. It has resulted in at least 20 deaths and numerous injuries. A new Israeli army operation initiated Tuesday in Jenin has killed at least 11 Palestinians. The Palestinian Foreign Ministry is condemning the continued raids. The ministry is criticizing videos circulating on social media showing Israeli soldiers singing Hanukkah songs at a Jenin mosque. The ministry is calling for sanctions against far-right Israeli Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir for endorsing the soldiers involved. Medical charity Doctors Without Borders reports that Israeli forces killed an unarmed Palestinian teenager inside a hospital in Jenin. The hospital has been under a 2-day-long raid. The coordinator at the charity says in recent weeks, Israeli soldiers have obstructed the routine treatment of the patients in the hospital. She says soldiers have been ordering paramedics and drivers out of ambulances. They have been subjected to strip searches and humiliating actions on the streets. The head of the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine says a rising number of individuals in Gaza have been living for up to 3 days without food. He says there is an increasing difficulty in delivering aid to people in the agency's shelters due to crowds of displaced Palestinians present outside the areas. He says aid trucks that are being intercepted with people taking the food immediately. Heavy rains and cold winds have worsened the misery of the displaced Palestinian families. Nearly 1.9 million displaced Gazans are seeking shelter in the Rafah governorate. Palestinian Ministry of Education says 3,714 students have lost their lives. 5,700 have been injured in Gaza and the occupied West Bank since the onset of the war. The United Nations Refugee Agency reports that 288 Palestinians taking refuge in its facilities have lost their lives during this period. The UN staff members are also amongst the casualties. The death toll from Israeli attacks has reached at least 18,787 Palestinians. Israel's revised death toll stands at 1,147. Israel is experiencing its heaviest combat losses since October. It is also finding itself diplomatically isolated as civilian casualties rise in the Palestinian territory. In response to the United Nations General Assembly's demand for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire, 153 countries have voted in favor of the resolution. For the first time, Canada is amongst the countries calling for a ceasefire. Recently, the U.S. President Joe Biden has criticized Israel's indiscriminate bombings of civilians. He has warned that Israel is losing international support because of its actions. At least 8 countries have pulled their ambassadors from Israel. Bolivia has fully severed its diplomatic ties with Israel in the wake of the ongoing fighting. Russia, South Africa, Indonesia, Norway, Ireland, and the African Union, along with several others, oppose Israel's war on Palestine. Experts believe that pictures and videos of newborn children killed in airstrikes have marred Israel's image on the world stage. Despite the diplomatic isolation and the growing calls for a ceasefire, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vows to continue the military campaign. Israel says 10 of its soldiers died yesterday as a result of its ground offensive. It marks the worst single-day loss since October. Most of the casualties have occurred in the Shujaiya district of Gaza City. Germany's strong support for Israel, rooted in its disturbing history of Holocaust, has frustrated many Muslims in the country. The Holocaust was the genocide of European Jews during World War II, where 6 million Jews across German-occupied Europe were killed. A Palestinian German says she is anxious about the safety of her friends and relatives in Gaza. However, she says she feels greater anxiety over German policies that hinder criticism of Israel's actions. Anti-Semitic and Islamophobic attacks have surged in Germany since the onset of the war. there has been an increase of 320% of hate incidents in the country. The government's call for Muslim groups to condemn Hamas and stand with Israel has led to accusations of unfair targeting. Germany's Vice Chancellor Robert Habeck says Israel's security is essential for the country. He says Germany bears a historic responsibility as a perpetrator of the Holocaust. The Imam of Khadija Mosque in Berlin says hate messages are regularly posted into the letterbox. He says most of the time these letters have the same messages. These messages are, "You are not part of Germany. Islam is not part of Germany. Go back home. And you're responsible for importing the anti-Semitism that is poisoning our country." The situation has led to Germans with diverse backgrounds to reconsider their sense of belonging in the country. In Victoria, British Columbia, the Muslim community is fearing for its safety after a recent attack on a pro-Palestinian rally. Video footage shows a man driving onto a sidewalk during the protest in front of British Columbia's legislature. He narrowly avoids a pedestrian and then gets into a heated exchange with the protester. Victoria police have arrested one individual involved in the incident. The incident has left the Muslim community feeling unsupported. The victim is a student who says he is living in fear now. Sean O'Lough from the National Council of Canadian Muslims is calling the incident an Islamophobic act. He says the incident did not receive significant political response or outrage. He says if a Muslim driver committed the same act, there would have been an uproar in the media and the community. Many Christian Palestinians in the United States are refraining from celebrating Christmas as they mourn the death and destruction in Gaza. Palestinian Americans in Palestine have also canceled Christmas festivities to honor the dead and protest Israeli aggression. The city of Bethlehem, regarded as Jesus' birthplace, has witnessed subdued decorations. Palestinian and Arab Americans say they find it very difficult to celebrate when their countrymen are suffering. A physician from Southeast Michigan with Palestinian roots says there will be no Christmas tree and no big gatherings this year. Despite well-documented Israeli abuses against Christians in Palestine, many followers of the evangelical faith show support for Israel. They link the present-day conflict to biblical prophecy of the second coming of Jesus Christ. However, some Christians describe Israel's aggression as a violation of basic tenets of their religion. Australian cricketer Usman Khawaja says he will continue to show support to the Palestinian cause. Khawaja was seen wearing cricket boots with slogans, "All lives are equal," and "Freedom is a human right" during Australia's training session. The slogans were written in the colors of the Palestinian flag. The International Cricket Council has barred Khawaja from wearing the boots in the upcoming test match against Pakistan. The council prohibits players from displaying non-compliant messages during international matches. Cricketers Moeen Ali and Mohammad Rizwan have faced warnings and sanctions for expressing their support for Palestine in previous matches. Khawaja, however, says he will challenge the council's ruling. In an emotional video posted online, Khawaja can be seen saying that his message is humanitarian and not political. He then says he is advocating for those without a voice. Khawaja's decision has received mixed responses. While some condemn his stance, he has received support from Australia's sports minister and his captain, Pat Cummins. Experts say the council's response will set a precedent for handling similar issues in sports. Thank you for watching. Our news is produced by Muslim Network TV, which is a not-for-profit organization. We need your support for donation. Please scan our QR code on our broadcast or visit muslimnetwork.tv to donate now, so we can continue to amplify the voices of Muslims in Canada and abroad. Assalamu alaikum.